Well, for more insights into the impact of the Belt and Road Initiative on Europe, I spoke to Stephen Perry, chairman of the 48 Group Club. He's attending the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing next week. I started by asking him how significant this initiative is.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, first of all, you've got the whole history of the Silk Roads, and it's such a romantic story spreading over 1,500 years. The transport, people talk about the transport being with camel trains, and people like myself would think that's 6 or 7 camels. That's what you see at a zoo if you're lucky. These were 2,000 or 3,000 camels moving backwards and forwards across Asia and Europe. So it's a wonderful, rich historical story about people moving from different cultures and different systems with relative ease, doing a lot of trade and a lot of exchange of visits, Marco Polo, all sorts of people. And then you put it in today's context of the WTO, free trade agreements, NAFTA, the European Union, and everybody's trying to work out how to do business with everybody else without huge tariffs and barriers. And BRI is supranational. It's crossing from Asia, through Asia, into Europe, and not just trying to establish trade at lower tariffs, with lower barriers, but trying to put in place transnational infrastructure to enable a whole new area of growth and development to occur. It'll probably take the next 20, 30, 40 years being done.
It's certainly an ambitious project, as you mentioned, something of this scale, pretty much unheard of. So how does this differ then when it comes to other regional investment projects that we're seeing?
NAFTA is essentially about reducing tariffs and opening ability for companies to move their production into different locations. The European Union is essentially about a common market. The tensions around Brexit are between those who want it to stay as a common market enabling free trade and those who want it to be something that begins to knit nations into a continental United States type structure. BRI is about laying down the infrastructure to enable people and towns and cities to grow, to enable economic growth to happen. Generally speaking, developments have taken place by countries which aspire to control other areas of land and other people's economies.
Right.
It hasn't worked too well. That's tended to cause wars. The Chinese approach to this, based on that understanding of history, is about shared prosperity, common destiny. That was the significance of Xi Jinping's speech in Switzerland just a few months ago. But people say, oh, these are just words. I don't think they are words. The Chinese don't work like that. They have something called the scientific approach. They test things out for great length before they put them into operation. And the Chinese will have a pretty good idea that you don't have an ability to build economic development if you have a great deal of jealousy and antagonism going on under the surface. So this project, which takes Asia and transforms it into Europe, but also through the Middle East into Africa, it really is the most imaginative way of trying to deal with some of the antagonisms of history between nations and create a better and more balanced opportunity for all the peoples to develop. Sounds very altruistic, doesn't it? But I think it's the only way for the world to go.
Now, given that this project is going to span multiple continents with obviously their own laws, their own trading concepts, what would you say are some of the main advantages and disadvantages that you're seeing, especially, let's start with the European perspective?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, we in Europe have got, we've got history on that, haven't we? We've been trying to work out how to merge not just our laws, but our tax structures, our investment laws, and it's quite confusing and quite complex. So the Chinese have been studying very carefully what's happened with Europe, with the European Union, with NAFTA. They've looked carefully at ASEAN and other structures around the world. And it's not going to be simple, and it's not going to be quick. I would imagine that in the legal area, a Silk Road law will evolve that deals with the concepts around transnational trains, roads, canals, shipping routes. I would think that there'll be dispute resolution structures that will be relatively unique initially to the Silk Road area. So yes, a lot of complexity of different nationalities, systems and structures and legal systems and ways of doing business that have to gradually harmonize.